July 31st. I just kind of woke up. I had a dream, and I'm trying to remember it. This isn't the first time that I wake up. I wake up a couple times already, but I got emotional, and you know, after you have a little cry, you just want to go back to bed. That's what happened. But the dream that I just had, I was in this community. And I was sitting next to a person I was dating, a man I was dating. And in this dream, I'm being introduced to this person's world. And he has a daughter. I'm being introduced to the daughter. And I don't know who this man is. I've never seen him before. But I'm being introduced to his daughter. She's little. And she's real playful. She actually reminds me of my friend's daughter. My kindy friend's daughter. And I'm introducing myself, and she's real playful, and it's fine. So that's happening. And then there's this other memory of that dream that I have where something happened, a crisis happened, and my sister's there, my sister-in-law's there, and my sister's anxiety is up. But my sister-in-law is on those emergency cart things when paramedics show up and then they put you on that cart thing. She's on there, and they're like trying to revive her with the things, but she's awake. She's awake already, and she's like asking for it almost. She's awake, but they're telling her that they need to do that, and she's inviting it, like do it. I don't know if it's to try to not revive her because she's alive. But like to shock her body almost, or something like that. And she's in the process of being put into this ambulance, but not yet. They're doing all this outside in the patio of this place. And my sister is freaking out. And I see an aunt of mine whom I haven't spoken to in a long time. She's there. I haven't even thought of it. I don't know why she popped in my dream. But I hadn't talked to her. I haven't talked to her in a while. She was there. And it was like another Cedar interaction. But she wasn't getting it. I just remember I'm like, she's not getting it. She's not getting it. And there was this need to make her aware of what was going on. It's so weird. It like didn't make sense, but in my dream it made sense. I don't know. Before that dream, I saw movement, and sorry, I have bags all over the place. I'm still moving. I saw the waves when I was going back to sleep this last time, but it's because I started crying before. I started crying because of what I was being triggered. So I'm working backwards so I don't forget. So the waves, it wasn't even waves, it was just light. It was the light radiating, and it was purple, but the circle was bigger. It was a bigger purple circle, and it was just beaming like like beaming, and it was bigger because it would take up the whole space, and it was like contracting and like just getting bigger. And then whatever waves were there, it wasn't really waves, it was just like contracting. That's what he said. He said it was contracting. But that's what it felt like it was just beaming. But I used the word contracting, and the contracting, this fire sign, this new fire sign, I watched an interview, I came across an interview. I was watching one of his videos, and then an interview came up that I hadn't seen before, so I watched it. And he said something that I was like blown away. I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Like, it was another wow moment. But he said that, what did he say? He said love, contracting. He said love, something about contracting. Oh, I have to find it. Something about the tension that you feel towards someone, or something like that. The tension you feel towards someone is just the love that's contracting, getting ready to let go, something like that. So in essence, when you get triggered by someone, it's love. It's just love that's being contracted. I loved how he said it. Like, it made total sense when he said it. I was like, oh, that's right. It makes sense. Where does this fit in my post-its? Because I have post-its right here. I have post-its of what happened. But he said that. I wonder if that's what that means. My waves. But anyways, that's what he said. He said, when you're something about when you're triggered. Oh, I have to look back. Or is that me just trying to fit it in? Something about when you're triggered, it's still love. It's just being contracted in order to be released. So what happened was, I saw a loved one yesterday, and I go to her a lot. For guidance, and sometimes I just go and I vent to her, because she has a different way of looking at a situation, right? She's like my sounding board. She's my sounding board. Where I'm like, here's my situation. Am I interpreting it correctly, right? Am I interpreting this correctly? What am I missing? What am I off? And I don't know. I just go in there already with that expectation that she's gonna teach me something. But when I go in, I'm just like, you'll never guess what happened, and I'm just like gossiping, but I'm venting. But she always finds a way to shed light on a situation in a different way, and I'm just like, and then I realize, like, oh, I needed to have done that, something different. So I was updating her on these interactions that I was having at work, and then with Mr. Arizona and this childhood acquaintance, because she wasn't really a friend, it was an acquaintance. And I'm telling her, I'm like, what's the pattern? Where's the connection, right? And I'm explaining to her the situation with Hannah, that I was that it was clear that I triggered her. And then she's like, I don't understand why. And I said, here's why. I was telling her, there was an element, I can't explain the whole thing, but so here's what happened. Here's the final result of it. These 3 situations with Hannah, Mr. Arizona, and this childhood acquaintance, I realized after talking to her that I felt attacked. I felt attacked to a certain degree. On this pendulum of intensity, I felt attacked. And I handled each one a little bit different. And I'm trying to find the balance of like, which one of these was the more balanced way of addressing the situation. So did I do it right? No. This should have been Monica. Okay. So I have these extremes, right? Oh, no, these two are kind of similar. I'm doing notes. Because I'm trying to break it apart. I'm trying to like understand and then answer the question of what is the balanced way of responding. So I'm gonna go through each experience. With Hannah, I went back to work, actual work, which I hadn't worked with her since San Francisco. I was ready to work. I was there. She said, we're doing inventory. I said, okay. And then I waited because we had left off where we were trying to figure out how to do that. So I said, did you figure it out? Did you end up figuring out how to do inventory? And then she kind of raised her voice a little bit and said, well, yeah, we did. And I said, okay, how do we do it? And she's like, well, you were there. And then I was like, I forgot what I said. But then I said, something happened. There was like an interaction that happened. And immediately, like, her response back to me was, you're not communicating well. So I was like, oh, and it was like she snapped at me. And I just like, I remember I froze a little bit and I was just like, okay. So I took a step back and then I explained a little bit more. I said, the last time I was with you, this is what happened. You know, we were trying to figure something out. We were into a new program and we were trying to figure it out. And then she's like, well, we did inventory. I'm like, yes, we did inventory, but you read it out. You read the list out to me. I didn't see what you did. You read the list out and I looked for the stuff. So I don't know what you did or how you figured it out. That's where we last left off, is what I told her. She's like, oh, and I don't know if it was then that she said, you weren't communicating well. So I was like, okay. So then, and then at that point was when she said, well, we'll do it the same. And she was flustered. After that point, she got flustered. And so then I was just like, okay. And then she's just like, and then she said, I'm trying to handle this. There's a client that's coming. Now she's sharing more information that I had no idea was occurring. So apparently there was a client that was coming to pick up a jewelry and she was working with our other jeweler. And I was just like, oh, okay, no problem. And then she said, do you mind waiting until we're done? That's fine. So I sat back. But I remembered there was a trigger in me in response where I was just like in shock that she threw that in my face almost, like, you don't know how to communicate. You're not communicating well. And I didn't, in that moment, because I know her history and I know what's evolved and the losses that have occurred, I didn't feel the need to respond back because I knew what was going on. I knew I was still triggering her. And I chose to just not say anything and just take it, right? And reminding myself this is temporary, reminding myself this is why I'm also moving on, right? And then I last night, as I was sharing with my loved one, I was trying to figure out where in our work partnership was there that shift. Where was that shift? Where, because we started off good, we were communicating well and everything was going fine until a certain point, and she was listening to my advice. Then there was a certain point where things just shifted, and I was trying to like figure that out with her. And then I remembered, and it just so happens to be around the same time that all these videos now are coming out. The ones that just came out was when I voiced my needs about having to take a step back, when I voiced my thoughts about our relationship or working relationship, where I told her I think we both jumped in too quickly. I think we both were seeking stability, and we both put that on each other in this partnership, right? And then the moment that I realized I need to pull back, this doesn't feel right anymore, and I voiced that to her, I remember there was a trigger in her too, of you're pulling back. Well, how much are you pulling back? And so there was fear, right? Of like, how much am I going to detach, right? And I didn't know. Like I just said, I'm like, I'm figuring this out as I'm coming along, right? And I was telling my loved one last time, like, I think that's the point, because after that, there were other examples that were popping up where I'm like, oh, this feels too familiar. Oh, like there was more of a controlling factor in our dynamic that I noticed, that I picked up on, and it started feeling very familiar, where I couldn't really speak up. I couldn't really speak my truth, and or if I did, it was never the right time. At least that's how I was made to feel. And I was told, you never pick the right time. I'm like, there's never really a right time to pick when we need to have a difficult conversation. And so that's when I realized. But then still wondering, like, well, why did I respond in the way that I did with her in that situation? And I think I realized because I know what happened. I know what's unfolded. I know her history. And so instead of me lashing back and saying, what are you talking about? It's my issue, right? I just stayed quiet, took a step back, and I'm like, all right, giving her space, right? And then it wasn't until later where I was just like, you know what? I did kind of feel attacked. And it took me a while to process that I felt attacked in that moment. Briefly, it was a whiff of feeling attacked, in the sense that she used something that I had shared with her in the beginning of, I'm working on my I'm working on my communication skills, I'm working on not jumping in too quickly, I'm working on this. She used that against me. I don't think she did it intentionally. I think she was just so flustered that she projected her challenges of communication on me in that moment, instead of taking accountability for the fact that she was flustered, that she, for whatever reason, my interactions with her after that point, it's like she would forget certain things. Like when we got back from San Francisco, we had a really good talk and it ended really well. But then we experienced some things the following day, the loss of our worker, and then I didn't hear from her. And then I wondered, why didn't I hear from her? Why is she not reaching out? So I reached out and said, hey, do you need help with anything? And then that's when I realized I'm triggering her. That's why she's not reaching out. And then she made a comment to me that I'm just like, where did that come from? Where she said, I thought you were done. And she's mentioned that twice already. I thought you were done. I'm like, what are you talking about? I told you I was going to still help you. And then I remembered in mental health, right? When we go through intense experiences, we forget information and then we regress. And then we kind of get taken back, right? And then we're kind of repeating the same thing. So I was like, okay. So there's that, right? Experience where I have more of the context. I have the background information. I have, and I'm slowly detaching myself from the situation, right? I'm moving on. Mr. Arizona. I was telling my loved one, I'm like, I don't know what happened. I felt anger. Like it was just, I was pissed. I felt this inner lioness wanting to come out, this protectiveness. And then I told her, and then I'm like, but I was confused. I don't know if it was towards this person that had such an impact in my life. And the fact that he was kind of projecting whatever he was projecting onto him, or if it was me protecting my experience of my healing. I can't tell what it was. Well, if I'm protecting my experience of my healing, then that means I'm also protecting that individual who was a part of that experience, right? When Mr. Arizona said, it's unfortunate that guys end up hurting girls, and then I was really, I ended up being really offended by that. I was like, Not, and then I told her, I'm like, why did it take me time? It took time for me to actually realize that I was upset. Why? And then what he said before, when he was saying, oh, don't take this the wrong way, I didn't take the wrong way then, but then when I sat to process it a little bit more, a few days later, I realized, I'm like, what the hell? There's no acknowledgement that I was right. He's making it seem like he just came up with this idea, right? It's all through text, mind you. And I had told this individual, I don't want to communicate through text, let's do the voiceover or the voice thing, and he chose not to. And I remember I told my loved one, I was just like, that moment that he chose not to engage with me through voice, my wall was already up. I'm like, because you want to keep communicating through text, I don't hear your tone of voice, we're going to easily misunderstand each other, because it's happened to me before. and so my wall was already up. And then he kept being pushy, and I even shared my taxes with her. I'm like, tell me if I'm reading it wrong. And she's just like, no, he was clearly not listening to your truth. So then, but in that situation, there was this desire to hurt him with the truth, right? There was this desire in me because I felt hurt, I felt offended, that I wanted to hurt and offend. And that's why I wrote what I did about what I saw, right? And then I'm like, but I'm right. And then she's just like, I'll get to that point in a little bit. So realizing that in that interaction, I felt attacked, right? It was just a type of attack. It felt like offended, and I felt like this need to protect my experience, my healing, this individual who's a part of that, and feeling the need to protect that in the sense of like, don't misplace the blame on this situation for your lack of not listening through, to me repeatedly telling you friendship only, like, he thought I was going to budge. I think and that's what she helped me understand. She's like, he reminds me of all these other people that I dated, she said, who just didn't get it. And I'm like, so is it true that he didn't get it, or was he just licking his wounds? Because there was still this part of me of like, I know I'm right. And then she's like, you can be right all you want, but for him, he may not get it, or he might. We don't know. But she helped me to understand, my Post-its, she helped me to understand that I'm not always right. She's just like, I don't have to receive props for being right. She said, you don't have to receive props for being right. That's the ego side of me, right? Where I know I'm right. It is. So, okay. So there's a point to that. This is going to be a longer video. I'll try to keep it short. Then this other experience with this childhood acquaintance, where there was a sense of trigger, and it was clear that she was triggering herself almost with my presence and the fact that I wasn't budging. And as much as she described me as, you're all over the place, I'm like, after reflecting, I'm like, well, so were you. Like, just asking questions and not giving me an opportunity to really chime in. And that's when I realized, and that's what she told me. She's like, this person came with an agenda. She's like, you should have expected that, you mean? I'm just like, I guess. But then there's a part of me that still holds on to hope for people. And I think that's why my naiveness of hanging on to hope for people. Potential, right? Hanging on to the potential that they'll get it, that they'll be able to see it and then make a shift. And then, but with her, I also felt attacked, and I remember feeling like a little frozen almost. And I remember she gave me a Bible verse, and I remember as I was underlining, I found the Bible really quickly, and as I was underlining, I was shaking. I realized that I was shaking, and I remember thinking, why am I shaking? When I know that I'm right, like within myself, right? I felt safe and secure, but I was shaking, and realizing it until afterward that I felt attacked. But I and then I sent her also a long text, right? Of like, and I read it to you guys, of, you know, this is a learning experience for me because this is going to continue to come up. People are not going to get it. People, right? So there was a level of awareness there as well. But for whatever reason, I wasn't wanting to hurt. It was more like I want to end it with the hope that hopefully, right, the light bulb will go on. And I'm going to, and then in that situation, I'm just like, I'm just going to leave it. Whatever's going to make you feel safe, right? That was my goal. I'm like, whatever's going to make you feel safe, you don't have to change. That's fine. But then with Mr. Arizona, it was different. Like, it just triggered me so much. So anyways, so I had all these post-its of stuff that she was telling me, and I'm like, I need to write this stuff down. Because, yeah. And there was this, where I was trying to find the balance of like, how do I not be passive aggressive, which is how I used to do. Because with anger, I bottled it up. I never really, because I always took it. And there was this essence of me pleasing others, right? Want to be kind to others. And then holding on and entertaining this potential hope that they'll get it, right? And so it reminded me of my skydiving experience, where it took me 3 times to actually feel the emotions tied into that experience. And I was telling her, I'm like, I feel like the reaction was instant, but then also the processing of it was delayed. Or even the emotion of anger, right, was delayed, that I didn't feel it right away until I sat with it some more. So anyways, so I'm going to cut this one short. There's a part B to this experience, which I'll record another time because it's getting hot. But she said, my focus on life is to work on me first, not focus on others. And then I remembered I had written down on a post-it, be the mission, not the missionary, right? Just live a life of example. Less is more, especially when it involves people I don't connect with, is what she told me. I was like, oh, that's so good. And then she put, keep it simple. If I want to, I can just plant the seed, right? But they don't necessarily deserve a text. And I don't have to receive props for being right. I'm not always right all the time, especially when the person is not engaging in front of me. A connection is not a one-sided relationship. No, a one-sided relationship is not a connection. This one needs to be backwards. A one-sided relationship is not a connection. It's okay to not vibe with someone, and it's okay to let them go. Keep it short and simple. In connections where I know they aren't going anywhere, less is more, cut it off, stop it. Don't entertain the potential connection. Ask myself what's in front of me. Because that triggered me for another experience that I have, which I'll share another time, because those are other polarized extremes. But this is me processing those 3 events that happened this week, and trying to figure out why I responded in this way here, giving this person more grace, and then kind of some grace, and then this one, like, forget it. You know, where I wanted to, like, no, right? Like, protect the, and processing that, and just trying to sit with it, and then, right? Because this is me learning, right? This whole process is about me. This process is about my healing, and then being aware of my behaviors, my actions, what I do, so that I can then do something different. I'll end it at that. And in essence, I'm learning about my emotions, right? Because I bottled up so much of my emotions. I don't know how to be angry. I don't know how to feel anger, or not necessarily that I don't know how to feel it, because I'll feel it. I don't know what to do with it, right? In a way where I'm not bottling it up, where I'm not going to one extreme, and then where I'm not going to the other extreme and wanting to hurt someone. So I'm working on that clearly now, because it was like back-to-back experiences of feeling a little bit of attack and then learning how to navigate that, right? So yeah, stay tuned for part B, because that one's an interesting twist. See you guys later. Oh, P.S. Move-in date moved up again. I'm leaving next Friday, Mount Saturday. So one less day to get my shit together. We'll see. Take care. My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me. So take care.